Hey, deserving listeners, sister wives, let's watch and see what happens.
I believe that that's what the goal was in this, is to break up this family.
Interesting. Wow. I mean, she's speculating, but she would know more than anything else. Wow, it gives me chills, like horror movie chills. Holy shit. Wow. We've seen some toxic fan culture, but my God, if that's true. Because I'm waiting for some punchline here of, and then he started asking me for money or something. And yeah, and to hear that Cody is saying they're reaching out to me. Why would you do that, right? I mean, unless they were very romantically interested in Meri. But that's ridiculous, right? I mean, well, you know, that'll happen. It can look like that. But for a fan to say, I am going to get them, and here's how I'm going to do it, and wow. She's speculating, but woof.
And we just started talking, and I just knew I needed to tell her. There's so many times that she even came over. There was one time I called her over, and this was months ago. I called her over to my house, and she just laid there on my bed with me while I cried, because I couldn't say anything. I just felt so...
Yeah, we're hearing some detail as to how Robin showed up when no one else was showing up. It's nice to hear.
I feel like I go between this conflicting place in my head where I feel so much guilt for bringing this into the family and being at such a place that I invited it in.
So I don't know, but I wonder what... Ooh, it's like a half frame there. I'm wondering what in her history, both as a child and as a sister wife, what could be a factor in that self-blame of, I am dirty, I have brought filth into the situation, I am ashamed. There's no other answer to this other than I'm a piece of crap. You know, like she is. It's normal to have that thought regardless of your history and schemas, but it makes me wonder what kind of relational trauma she's been through.
A lot of guilt for that.
When she says that, Cody, what's going through your mind?
This is somebody...
It's a great question and a very therapist-y sort of question.
I just started to see was trying to exploit her in a way to literally harm our family and find some way to damage our children. And so nothing but forgiveness in this case. It was I see it, some people may see it a different way, but I see it as a flirt. So what?
So this is not emotional infidelity.
I don't even know what that is. What I see is somebody she had made friends with, somebody that she felt safe with, but that she was just having a communication.
Who knows? If we just take him at his word, which why not? He just doesn't see it that way. And that's how it is. And his connection with Meri is legit and has been legit. There's been ups and downs, but he is reacting to that. I wonder, I guess the test would be if, because I think that he's more dependent on Robin. It kind of has that look to it, which wouldn't be a crime, but he would he react the same if Robin was doing this? You know, that would be the litmus test. Because if he would, then you'd say, oh, well, he's just the sort of person that just doesn't get tweaked by their partner's flirting, even at that level, right? There's another possibility that he hasn't really reckoned with that hurt because of the bombshell of there is a nefarious either person or a group of people that have been campaigning in a very sophisticated way to break us down and to harm us and our children. They might have even hacked into our phones and are listening to us right now, and you think that there are bugs in your house, and my God, right? So it could be that. But I think more likely it's a combination of two things. One is that he isn't that connected with her and doesn't depend on her and has given up on the relationship a long time ago because of the distance or something, and has also a fairly easygoing attitude about that. And maybe because of the polygamy, he has adopted that of just like, well, you have to understand that your partner isn't always going to be thinking about you. Sometimes they're thinking about other people. You know, he's thinking about how his sister wives might get jealous of the situation, and it sort of generalizes to himself of just like, just because someone is romantically interested in someone else doesn't mean they don't love me. In the same way that when I'm romantically interested in one of my sister wives, it doesn't mean I don't love one of the other sister wives. So, you know, maybe it's that. I don't know why I have to speculate about why he's not personally hurt by that. But I will say that regardless, it's a commendable response from him. Maybe this will bring them closer together. Maybe this will bring the whole family closer together. I could see that happening. They certainly have the foundation for that. Maybe this is a wake-up call. Sometimes infidelity can be that way. I'm not saying do it, but it can work out that way if you work it right and you're loving and caring towards you. You can really alert a relationship to the cracks in the foundation. Or he wishes this ends in divorce, really. I don't know. But if I keep wondering where they're at with the religious group, because according to the religious group, they need to have harmony in their marriage and divorce is not on the table. So this is not harmony, right?
She felt she was in love, or she thought that she was in love.
Well,
that's the first time we're hearing that. Is she going to refute that?
I felt a love for a person who was not even real.
Right. I understand.
I don't get that, because I need to see somebody to love them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it
sounds
may
like
speak to what she talked about. Just
He might be benefiting from lack of imagination or lack of familiarity, because we understand, like with Love is Blind, that you can fall deeply in love having never seen or touched or kissed someone. I guess that's one thing that Love is Blind really illuminates, right? Now, a lot of those relationships aren't deep, but for the ones that do get married, pretty good chance they are very deep. In fact, there's probably a good chance a lot of them are very deep, even the ones that don't work out in the end. So it could just be that he's ignorant of that, which isn't strange, because if all of your life has demonstrated otherwise, then you're like, no, she wasn't really in love. And if he really understood, then he might be hurt by it. I don't know why. I don't want him to be hurt, but well, maybe I kind of do, because then it would indicate that he cares, that he's dependent on her. You know, that's part of it, right? Of just like, I need you. You know, people talk about like, oh, I don't want a needy person, or you shouldn't need someone. No, you should need. It's mutual dependency with someone you can trust. And that's probably how we evolved to understand love and connection and family and friendship and dependence and loyalty and dedication and safety and security, is in part due to, I know this person needs me and I need them. We need each other and we love each other. And we need each other in both good ways and bad. You know, I need this person for practical reasons, but also for emotional reasons. If we broke up, it would really hurt, and I would find someone else, of course. But as it is right now, I depend on them. I need them. And so in that, when your partner violates that or drifts away, then your needs are not being met. And as I've been saying, I wonder if for him, since he has 3 other wives, at the very least to shift his dependence to, if it doesn't hurt as much as it would otherwise.
Make me feel like I could trust him.
Janelle, how are you processing all of this?
My first reaction was
to put on armor and go to war. I wasn't going to let these creeps or these freaky people or whoever the heck they are. I was ready to go to war. I was ready to go to war. I visualized us all, like, honestly, suiting up in armor. I don't know how else to say it. And just...
It's interesting to see the different responses, and it illuminates what's not present with Cody. That for Janelle, because I didn't know what Janelle was going to say. I wouldn't have been surprised if Janelle had a similar response to Cody. I mean, maybe Cody's just holding it together, trying to be a leader as he is supposed to be. And the sister wives have said it explicitly a number of times that they want him, they need him to be the leader. They don't want to be the leader. They need him to be the strong one or something. But anyway, for Janelle, she's like, when I heard this, I was not going to let someone hurt her. I might cry thinking about it. That I'm not going to, because that's Robin's reaction and Janelle's reaction is what I would hope would be my reaction. I would hope I would not have, I guess I would hope I would have an element of Cody reaction, which is to not center my hurt until my person has been safe, been protected. But yeah, for Janelle to be like, fuck you. You can't hurt my loved ones. Is this the first time I've cried on this show? I think it is.
They, the brown adults, know it all. What about your children?
A couple hours ago, I was in and I pulled the kids together. Logan, Aspen, Mariah, Madison, McKelty. And I just said, I just wanted to let you guys know, no matter what you've heard, no matter what's out there, I was never going to leave you guys.
Yeah, that's a good thing to highlight. And we're hearing that she claims that she's told everyone everything, which I can believe. I think that the story, the common speculation or accusation would be, you had sexy times with this person and you're not revealing it. I guess even if that were true, whatever, I suppose. Well, not whatever. Anyway, point is I don't imagine that she would lie. Who knows? But given the way that she tells the story, it sounds credible. That's what I'll say. But I can't tell. And now we're hearing that she told the older kids, and maybe, it's like I normally you wouldn't have to tell the younger kids, but you're on a reality TV show that the parents of your small children's friends will watch, you know what I mean? And therefore, you would have to concern yourself with that information being told to them on the playground before you had a chance to get out ahead of that, right? So anyway, but it's good that Meri is thinking, the first thing I need to really emphasize is that I would never leave you, and that is a good intuition of, instead of, because a common selfish thing to do as a parent is, I'm worried about my kids thinking bad things about me. I don't want them to think I'm a bad person, so I'm going to try to get out ahead of that. A more mature parent would put that aside because that's secondary, it's a distant second to, they might be worried that I was going to abandon them, because that's commonly what children will think when they hear about their parents cheating.
I love my family. I'm not ever going to leave.
Just for clarification, in those exchanges, there was talk of you leaving.
Social media buzz was that I was leaving, because what they were seeing was me making comments about flying free, finding myself. Okay,
it sounds like some things were leaked. Were you all at ground zero when this was happening? It's just so weird to think, because, for some of you, you were watching this show from the beginning, I think. Because I understand that that's been the case. They were there, maybe they started watching season 3. And were you there? Let me know in the comments. Were you there when it sounds like this was leaked, that the catfisher was potentially, yeah, right. Why would they leak that? Unless, at least eventually, they were trying to tear the family apart, right? Because that plays your hand and makes it so you can't blackmail, unless it's just like, see what I did, and if you do anything more and you don't do what I say, then I'm going to leak more stuff. But anyway, it sounds like it was leaked and posted that she had, these conversations or these voicemails, because earlier we heard about that were her talking about flying away and getting free. I don't want to hear those because that would be a violation of her privacy, but I am curious as to what were in those exchanges or in those voicemails, because it would reveal another side to her, right? Interesting.
Man that you wanted to leave and be with him.
Yeah. This person pushed that on me.
You didn't mean it?
No. There was not a person to leave with, and I always knew that I was never going to leave with him.
I don't know if there's skepticism. And past a certain point of intimidation and control, it is very common for victims to fawn, to appease. Okay, he wants me to say that I will run away. Yes, I would love to run away with you, because and maybe even convincing themselves that they want that as well, but they don't want it. They're just trying to stay out of danger, right? So that's a possibility, a very real possibility. And another possibility is that before she became victimized, or before the perpetrator started to scare and intimidate and control, she was falling in love, or had fallen in love, and was fantasizing about running away with him, and might not have been serious, although, okay, wow, if we walk ourselves back, and my speculated timeline is that months before this point of this tell-all, and so we know that 3 weeks earlier she tells Robin and then the rest of the family, and then some months earlier they film the show and they go to Alaska and they have this really great trip, and then they have this restaurant, and she, in that whole scene, all she says is, since Mariah left the house 2 years ago, I've been kind of struggling, I'm kind of lonely, and don't be surprised if one day you wake up and I'm gone. So if we just take that verbatim, what is it now? I guess what she would say is, I was trying to protect them. So is that what happened? Was she thinking, I will leave with him to fawn and keep the monster at bay so that my children, that I could see that. But it's hard to know where so if she, in the state that she was telling the family, it's probable that she was already in the phase of being threatened and harmed and controlled and abused. So yeah, but I guess there's another possibility that she was pre that point and she was still in the good honeymoon phase with the abuser and was in love and was fantasizing about running away, but not really serious, but maybe, who knows, and was preparing the family, or was trying to tell the family, I think I might be falling in love and wanting to leave, I don't know. So there's a lot of possibility. I think that for Meri, there's a chance that she's having a hard time admitting, even to herself, or even remembering, given everything that's happened, the very beginning of the relationship where it was positive feelings, because the way she's answering, or she has reason to not highlight that because she doesn't want her family to reject her, which I could see. I could see her now, having revealed it, how her dependence on her family and the neediness would kick in, and it would compel her to actually put effort to be closer or something. And so she doesn't want to jeopardize that. I don't know. There's just a lot of speculation. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. So it's December, and for me anyway, the holiday season is filled with fond memories. I know that's not true for everyone, but regardless of one's personal experiences, I think that December is a good time to get a nice cozy blanket and get cozy, that kind of thing, at least for those of us in the northern latitudes. And speaking of getting cozy, I suppose one could say that therapy is a great place to get cozy. Cozy with ourselves, to wrap the warm blanket of therapy around us. And with the advent of online therapy, you can even stay home and go to therapy and sit on your favorite couch and be wrapped up in your favorite blanket. Well, one place you can find a therapist to do this with is at BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's definitely worth giving a try. So find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
Did you say it?
He was always pushing it on me. You don't want to be in that family. I want you with me. He was always pushing it on me.
You will obviously have people who watch this show and have watched it for many seasons who believe that you were the person ultimately who did say you wanted or could.
Yeah, but if she's fawning or even consciously trying to protect her family, then, because, you know, she could be saying that but not really believing it, right? She's just like, well, just tell them what they want to hear. So that is absolutely, in all likelihood, what was happening at the end, at the very least, but it also might have been legitimate in the beginning, and she just doesn't want to admit it. You know, both can be true.
Leave the Brown family. That's what you meant, even if the other person on the other end of that phone was fake.
It doesn't matter what I say or what we say. People are always going to believe what we want to believe.
I don't know if this is edited, but it, I think, would help her credibility, maybe even to her family and her kids, if she were to say, yeah, in the beginning, although we weren't saying those kinds of things, it's true that in the beginning it was me. I was responding. I wasn't flirting as much as he was, but I was putting effort into it, and the abuse hadn't started yet. So, yeah, in the beginning, maybe the first week or the first few weeks or the first few months or something. Yeah, in the beginning I was, but understand that once across the line, I was in survivor mode. And again, it just makes you wonder if she has been victimized before. I suppose people might think Cody has or is abusing her, and she's just, because having said that, everyone, I have not been abused in my childhood. Far from it. And yet, when I just you rolled the dice and it came up snake eyes, and I was entwined with someone who was abusive, this has happened more than once in different configurations of relationships, I would fawn and would shut down and would appease and was terrified. It's hard to describe how it becomes a rational, justified decision to go along with it. From the outside, you're like, why are you going? Just run away or push back or refuse to meet up with them or tell them to fuck off or talk to someone about it. That's really easy to say from the outside, because when you're in it, you have very real fears that this person could ruin everything. There were times when I thought that loved ones in my life were going to be killed. Not that that threat was being made, but given what I was seeing, I'm like, my God, you're capable of anything because of your emotional reactivity to things, and you're capable of all those things. What else are you capable of? And I am a trained perpetrator and victims assessor and therapist. I have treated perpetrators. I chose to do that. I have, worked with countless victims. I knew what was happening in the moment, and yet I did the thing. Now, I got out, I think, a lot faster than other people would. Not that I'm better or stronger. I just have knowledge. But if those individuals chose to press matters, I might still be in those relationships, and I might be completely gaslit by now. So anyone can end up fawning and giving in and appeasing and going along with the abusive person and just handing yourself over and just giving all your power, because sometimes it is the right decision in a way. Now, ultimately, because from the outside, it can seem like, well, just tell people, get support, and push back and tell those people to go away. Well, what if I told you that there was a chance, maybe even small percent chance, but like a 5% chance that perpetrator will get a gun and come over and kill one of your children or try to kill one of your children? What would you do? Would you roll that dice? Would you take the risk? Because there's no way that you can control everything. You can't protect people in your life from all threats. Even if you hired a security team and bulletproof cars or something, which would be cost prohibited, right? Your kids have to eventually, put their head above water and walk into school or go to the store. Or eventually you have to tell the security guards to go away because you can't afford them. You just never know. And if someone is targeting you and they have you in their crosshairs and they have a lot of emotional energy around it, and they've demonstrated that, then a very strong, rational, logical person will say, the logical answer here is to give in. Because there's no measures in place. You go to the police, they don't do shit. They don't do shit. Maybe a police officer will be nice and address it, but they'll say, well, until he commits a crime, then there's nothing we can do. I don't know if that's legally right or not. Maybe there is something in some jurisdictions that they can do. I know they can. I mean, this has to do with stalking, and also it is rough. And a good, loving parent would not roll those dice. They would not take a chance on a 5% chance that one or more of their children would be killed. They would say that it's not worth it. I will sacrifice myself. Now, ultimately, that is not what's good for the kids. And in all likelihood, under most circumstances, the chance of murder happening is a lot less than 5%. But there is a chance, and it does happen. Having said that, typically murders happen from people that are involved, like your current spouse. And it's typically men who do this kind of thing. So if it's a stalker like this, where it's a catfisher, it's not likely because they're not emotionally triggered as much as a spouse would be when you're rejecting them. Anyway, I don't know why I'm going this. Well, I want to go down this road because it illuminates it, And she was in that. That is heartbreaking. That Meri was going. That is, there's been some. Why are people saying that the shit hits the fan in season 14? Because is it worse than this season 9? Because this is horrible. This is horrible. And it's a fan. There's a chance it's a fan of the show. And, my God, you could implicate the fan culture as a factor. They're not to blame, but it could be a factor in someone with this capability, maybe even doing it for attention on Reddit or something, to go after these people. Maybe even to get attention. Maybe even with all the way that people talk about these people. The way people talk about these people, I don't see it in my comment section most of the time. But I did see it recently in a live chat, in a live stream that I was doing about Hannah and Nick. And it's relevant here that someone asked me during a live stream, this last week, or not last week, because this episode will probably be so anyway, a while back, that I was being asked who is worse, Hannah or Chelsea from season 6? And I gave it some thought, and I said, well, what do we mean by worse? And I said, well, the criteria or the metric is who would I recommend more that my friend not date this person? Okay. And I was thinking, I was very much thinking out loud, because I don't think in terms of who's worse. That's not what therapists do. So I was like, okay, and I had to sort of lock it down to a concrete thing. Like, who would I say more adamantly, do not date this person? And I was thinking about Chelsea, and I said, well, with Chelsea, I think she's a good person with values and with empathy, but her relational traumas appear, I don't know, I have no idea, but they appear to be present and sufficient enough to give her significant distortions that resulted in what could be called abuse, depending on the on the target, on how they felt about it and saw it. Whereas with Hannah, I don't know if she has empathy. She might, but I don't know. And she treated Nick poorly, seemingly without being emotionally reactive. She just was across the board. With Chelsea, when she was calm, she was really nice and in love. You know, she wouldn't take responsibility for, but she was just like, you know, accommodating. Like, I love you. But with Hannah, you know, especially when you look back at the pods, she was indifferent about Leo, because, you know, she had Leo as her number one for a long time. And when he was saying, I have you and Brittany, and for Hannah, she just was like, yeah, whatever. And I think the way we interpret that is that she wasn't really that invested, but there's a possibility that she just has a hard time emotionally empathizing or connecting, and I don't know, I can't, this is such a huge claim and very negative about a human being that I've never assessed. So, you know, just throw it all out the door, please. But anyway, that's what I was saying in the live stream. And then someone said, you know, there are a fair amount of comments in the chat, just sort of offering opinions. And then one person said that if they were in Hannah's shoes, they absolutely would have treated Nick the way Hannah did. In fact, they would have been worse. And maybe you're actually watching right now, the person who commented. You know, it would stand to reason there's a possibility for that. And what I would say is, given what that individual was saying, you know, I can't know because it was just like a couple sentences in a chat, but that is a problem, because at the very least we saw Hannah being unfair, maybe a little mean, but at worst we're watching someone who has a pattern of abuse and humiliation and harm and gaslighting and putting down and refusing to acknowledge, or they just can't even acknowledge that they have done anything wrong ever, like what she did at the reunion. And just a lack of care, lack of altruism, lack of compassion, lack of empathy. Again, huge claim, and it's completely disregardable because of watching a reality TV show. I can't know. But for someone to watch that and to say, I would have treated Nick worse, and maybe it was a troll, but it didn't seem like it, that says something, you know? So all that is to say that commenter is not anomalous. There are a lot of people that are either lacking in empathy in their life, and when they watch reality TV and they go online, they exhibit that. But also I think there's a lot of people who are, and actually during some slow moments of the show, I've been looking up research on reality TV audience personality traits. And one of the things that I read was that the motivation that they found that as to why people would watch reality TV as opposed to other types of TV is that, I can't remember the word for it, but it was something like they want to be self-righteous or something. And they want to bully. They want to put other people down. They want to see people doing bad things, and they want to say things about that, and they want to put them down. And so we understand that, and I've been noticing, I didn't know that there was a culture like this when I first started watching reality TV. I slowly over the years have reckoned with this and consider it to be a massive problem. There's nothing wrong with having conversations with your friend. There's nothing wrong, I guess, with going on Reddit and saying, I don't like this person, they're a jerk face. It's a whole other thing if you just take in the entirety of the way that people talk about reality TV show cast members, you could imagine that someone who has the vulnerability to harm in a stalking manner, you could see them feeling justified and motivated to do that. It's similar when we hear about celebrities or politicians being attacked. And all you got to do is look online in certain subreddits and certain forums that people are basically saying or are saying that that person deserves to die. I wish someone would assassinate that person. And, that most people reading that are like, well, that's hyperbole, hopefully. But there are other people who don't interpret it that way. And sometimes that it isn't hyperbole. And so I am going to take a guess and say that there's a possibility that the person that targeted her was being egged on indirectly. Maybe even, do you know what happened when that person, because it sounds like that person started to leak the communications. I could see people piling on and going, yeah, she's a horrible, now we caught her, or she's a fraud, or yeah, stick it to Cody because he's a narcissist. Like, my God, we could be seeing a manifestation of an individual, a human being targeted in a horrific, evil way, and I don't use that word lightly, because of the cultural discourse or because of the culture around reality TV. Because it spans all reality. People don't typically watch only one reality TV show. They watch more than one. And all of those communities are overlapping. There's a lot of Venn diagram, right? And so you will see trends and practices and snark accounts and protectiveness. If someone ever says, hey, I think we should maybe take it easy on this person about that, you will see a pile-on of like, how dare you, stop gatekeeping. And I'm like, whoa, what is happening, So you'll hear me often say, do not DM these people. And maybe don't be mean. Always think like these, even the cast members you don't like, that these are human beings. And if you're going to comment, think about that person as a human being with all the vulnerabilities, and they are watching you in person. Think about that. Like if like for me, myself, when I react to these shows, there is a little attention on what if all of the people concerned with, the cast members, what if they saw me say all these things? How do I feel about it? Would I say those things if they were sitting right here? And I don't publish it otherwise. Now, maybe I'm wrong to be open about all my thoughts about that, but that is a filter that I put it through because I don't want to harm. And when I will say things that I think, I don't want, if this person watches this episode, I don't feel good about that. And I'll edit it out. And I always assume that they have seen it because of all the commentary, and I'm not being pompous, I would just imagine if I were, just me as a therapist, if I were on a reality TV show, I would be curious what another therapist or take another profession, like if I were on a physical reality TV show and there, let's say I had to run or something, and there was a physician that was talking about the way I was running and commenting on my form as to whether or not it was a healthy way to use my joints, I would be like, oh, free medical advice. So you imagine that for the therapist reaction videos out there, because there's, a fair amount of us, that those would be one of the first people you go to. And you're probably guaranteed to get a more sympathetic reaction from us therapists, I would hope anyway. So I always filter through that. So anyway, I'm going to remember this. This is affecting me because I feel like my reaction videos, my reaction is connected and is influential in however way, even if it's just slightly influential, like 0.0001%, in the overall effect that the audience has on these human beings. And to learn about the possibility that someone took it too far, but was being held up by a whole community of people indirectly, egged on or encouraged or rewarded. I mean, we as an audience really have to look in the mirror after this.
This person or these people or whoever it is started focusing on us for whatever reason, I don't know why, and targeted us and wanted to tear our family apart. And that's not happening on my watch.
This was by far the most emotional discussion we've ever had.
Okay, so Meri's saying it's not happening. It could be happening regardless of the evil individual, and it also could have affected things. I could see we haven't heard from Christine at all, really. I could see Christine and Janelle really holding it against Meri, that she brought this upon them, or that she put everyone at risk, or that she cheated on the family. You know, we haven't really heard from them. It kind of sounds like Robin is not reacting that way, and maybe Cody is as well. So, you know, this could have actually catalyzed something that was already there, I guess.
From it, I just feel blessed that we've been able to do this.
Wow, it's been an incredible...
Wow. All I have to say is wow. This whole catfishing thing has just been mind-blowing in so many different ways. I feel so bad for Meri and the whole family, the kids, that someone would do this to them, even if they weren't a fan, if they were just an evil actor from... And this happens so often. There are so many people right now that are being catfished in this evil way. And there are probably people you know right now that are being catfished and they don't want to tell anyone, or they have been catfished and they don't want to tell anyone. It happens a lot. There's a lot of loneliness in the world, and there's people out there that are going to exploit that. I could argue that even some of the catfishers are lonely and are doing it because they don't know any other way. It doesn't make it okay, of course, but it's yeah. I guess I've bonded with the family to some extent, and maybe particularly Meri. In fact, I didn't know if I wanted to. Before seeing this, I was just doing chores, and I was just thinking about the family and this family here, and I was noticing that I felt like I identified most with Meri, and I was like, do I say that in a reaction video? Because but I often will, because why not? And also it's a way of demonstrating that us therapists need to be aware of things like that. Because if we're treating a couple or a family, we have to, or even if we have 10 clients in one day, we have to, as a part of our self-reflection, we have to notice and take note of who we identify with more than other people, So if you have a couple and you identify with one person more than the other, you need to know that about yourself, and you need to figure that out. Either figure out why you're having a hard time empathizing with one person, or why you're over-identifying with one person. And if there's nothing to be done because you're just like, look, me and this person, we're just a lot alike, and I identify with that person, then I have to figure out, as I am with this couple, I have to make sure that I don't, over sympathize with the person I'm identifying with, or, which will happen to me sometimes, I'll be harsher on the person I identify with because I feel more at ease with them. and I feel like I can bro down, or I can be more harsh or something. And so it can go a lot of different ways. And as a part of that, I'm demonstrating that by showing that I'm like, anyway, so I'm moved because like I said, I particularly identify with Meri, and to have this happen to her, I guess it touches maybe on my traumas now that I think about it. So, yeah. And I'll take care of myself, and you take care of yourself, and take care of others, because we all deserve it. We really, really do.